Oh, I forgot my face oil.
My hair.
Consume, consume. Shovel it in, shovel it in.
From movies to video games, welcome to Marie Plays It All. Today's episode is Relatively Geeking, where my brother Rob and I geek out about the good times. And we also sometimes like to discuss things that make us want to rage quit life. Things we're passionate about.
I have an idea where we should go forward from here.
Okay.
Reviews where I just complain, rants, not really reviews, but rant views.
Yes.
After the Star Wars video got me in trouble, I think we should continue the trend of my hot takes. I'll be cooking in the kitchen. I got a meal for you guys. A meal's coming. You're not gonna like it. You know who's not gonna like it?
Who?
The Star freaks, the Star furries, the Star fanboys who will defend the game to the grave. Because you know what? I'm going to be spitting truths. Here we go. Sizzling.
Okay. First of all, Star furries loved it. Star fanboys. Okay. Let's see here. A new game, new game came out this past month, right? Or end of last month, beginning of this month.
I slept through half
Starfield.
of it, so I don't know.
Okay, so Starfield, Bethesda's pretty long anticipated, big, huge, like open world action adventure role playing game has come out. What?
Open world. You're already like throwing heat here. It's like the open world. Open fast travel, maybe.
Yeah, and Rob's been telling me that it's been getting some mixed reviews. Rob's been playing it since
Wow.
it came out. I have only played it for probably about 15 hours, and about an hour and a half of that was just designing my character. So this is Rob's take of playing the whole game through, right? And my first impression. Now, I am a Bethesda company lover in a sense, where the Fallout franchise is one of my favorites, Elder Scrolls is one of my favorites. So Starfield, I was kind of looking forward to, except I don't really like playing space games. I don't like the aesthetic. I find it very cold, very sterile, very barren. It's not just my aesthetic. I didn't play Mass Effect. I watched my husband play the entire series and I like to watch it, but it's just not my type of gameplay. So I wasn't like rushing to get Starfield. I was like, it might not be my thing. But I'm playing it now and I have some thoughts. Rob, how were you feeling before Starfield came out? What were you? Did you want it? Did you want to play it? Were you excited?
Well, first of all, one could say, you don't seem to be into sci-fi, but you're wearing an Empire Strikes Back shirt. But that's because Star Wars isn't science fiction, it's fantasy, space
Yeah.
opera.
Mhm.
I'm just trying to cause more controversy. Yeah, how did I feel? Well, I had like no expectations, neither negative nor positive. I just wanted to see what they would produce. I guess the one expectation I did have sort of deep down was that, the whole meme of Skyrim in space. I just thought
Mm.
that would be a pleasant, cozy experience. That's the thing about Skyrim. It's the home away from home. It's your pixel home. There's something so comforting about, the landscape, the music, the walking, and how the quests kind of like roll out and they feel fairly integrated with the world. So I thought, if I'm going to expect anything, or deep down, I thought I'd find that kind of coziness, which I actually I find some of that in Starfield. In fact, as vociferous as I'm going to be, I have some I have some good feelings towards Starfield, but a lot of critiques.
Okay.
So I had no expectations.
When you first started playing it, I don't remember much about what you said, but you did message me and call me a few times. Plus, we're in like a group chat where you and a couple of other people in our group chat who we met gaming, we game with sometimes, where you talk about it. I heard you use some mocking terminology and like get
Uh,
kind of mocking it a little bit. And then one day you called me.
Snorfield.
Yes, and one day you called me and I, before I even played it, was kind of defending Starfield just because some of the complaints that you had, I was like, well, that's a Bethesda game. It sounds like a Bethesda game. And then you said a bunch of things that made me like, oh, okay, that sounds like something I can understand. I understand how you feel that way. So then I told you to stop talking because I wanted to do we wanted to do an episode together about it. Now, you're very passionate about this, and I've played it a little bit now. Now I can actually discuss, and I have my own feelings too so far, even though I'm not really deep into it. Where do you want to start with this? Where do you want to start?
Well, I've developed several categories to discuss, and I'll start with what I think is the most important category for a Bethesda RPG, which is the exploration.
Hmm.
Before I begin there, I'd like to say that although I have a lot of critiques and a lot of grievances with the game because it's done me injustice, I think about it and want to play it all the time. It's still, yes. So, I wanted to save that to the end, like troll the audience to think I hate it and then come out and say I love it. But I don't love it, but I like it. I like playing it. I'm excited to do new game pluses. I want to do it, but at the same time, I'm mad at myself for playing and I'm
Okay.
constantly annoyed. So Starfield to me is kind of like a girlfriend that you have, you hang out with, you will go to, go out for dinner, watch movies, you kind of like a long history, but you're not totally into them, but you are attached to them and you don't want to hurt their feelings by wanting to break up. They're kind of annoying, the breast things, they kind of bother you a little bit, but it just doesn't feel right to dump them. And they give you kind of a cozy, safe, comfortable feeling because no one else really wants you anyway. So you kind of stay with them and then you find yourself in a marriage. So that's the kind that's the it's like a person who, although they have all these annoyances, you like and you feel good
Mhm.
around, but they might not be your top choice. And half the time when you're with them, you want to leave them, but you really can't. So that's what Starfield is like to me. That's my experience of it. So to begin with, I think one of the major categories is exploration because it's a Bethesda game. And one of the charms of a Bethesda game is the exploration. You can step out into the world
Mm.
and let the world take you to multiple places. And
Yes.
they excel at story driven fetch quests. Like they're fetch quests, but the way they're written is charming and interesting and quirky, and it's
Yeah.
kind of fun. Overall, I find exploration in Starfield to be star failed.
Mm.
And ultimately, the game doesn't have a lot of exploration. It has 1,000 planets, and there's expectation given it's a Bethesda game, and with 1,000 planets that you can land on a planet, walk across its surface and discover every 40 seconds a new point of interest. I think that's the time in between points of interest in these games, about 40 seconds. But on
Okay.
planets in Starfield, you can travel and travel and travel, and there's very little on the surface. And I'm not going to criticize Bethesda for having basically tiles where you reach an invisible wall and you can't go further because you're not going to walk around a whole planet. It's fine to have
Right.
invisible walls. Like, let's not be unreasonable here, especially since they're semi-procedurally generated. But
Okay.
the exploration is missing some key elements. So the planets are reduced to like 12 biomes.
Hmm.
Those biomes tend to be monolithic. You got the rocky planet. You got
Hmm.
like a kind of jungly planet. You got
Yeah.
a desert planet. What is this? Star Wars?
Yeah. I find in games like Skyrim and Fallout and stuff, I'm gonna compare Starfield a lot to those because those are the really big Bethesda names. When you hit that wall and can't go any further, it's upsetting because these games are so engrossing and the worlds are so you get so curious and involved in these worlds that you want to keep going. And then I found with Starfield, you go on a planet and I know already I'm not going to find much here. There's not going to be much here. There's like for a couple places I can maybe discover on this whole planet, and it all is the same terrain and kind of barren feeling. Again, I've only been to like a couple planets, but that's what it felt like to me.
So I understand there are those invisible walls. I don't think they should be there. And this is what I'll say to a lot of critics of my arguments, which is this: you had 7 years to make the game. You're a $1 billion company. You had 50 people working on it. Make it better. Now, I don't want to hear someone on Reddit talking about, oh, I programmed in this mobile game company. It's really hard. I don't care. Make it good. Done. You got the resources, you got the manpower, you got the experience, make it better. So, but I'm okay. I've with the invisible walls, okay, fine. I get it. But within that tile that you can walk around for like
Mhm.
45 minutes, like you said, there's a handful of points of interest that procedurally regenerate over and over and over. So I've been to the same pirate base on 4 different planets, and that is immersion
Oh.
breaking. So, and
Ooh.
again, like, what are the overall experiences I look for is immersion in all video games, especially Bethesda. And immersion goes hand in hand with exploration because you want to immerse yourself in a world, and exploration facilitates that because you're in a world walking around filled with adventure. That might not be important to people, but that is what a Bethesda game largely is about, is immersive exploration. So,
Yeah.
like, if you
Huge.
think that criteria is too subjective for me, you're wrong. There's different criteria. If you're having fun, that's fine. Then criticisms are relevant. If you're having fun, that's the ultimate standard. Now, you can have fun enjoying vulgar things like Taco Bell or like I love really trash fantasy. So if you want to enjoy the vulgarity of Starfield, I mean that's up to you, but objectively those with higher tastes can understand the criticisms. Anyway, so we so the exploration, yeah, so you have a handful of repeating points of interest that are boring. They totally are immersion breaking because it's like I've been here before. I found the same box full of body parts on the same dead doctor in the same ventilation shaft multiple times. It's
Oh,
weird.
no.
Yeah, and it's like, oh, it repeats again. And so
Okay.
barren, boring wastelands that are repetitive with repetitive points of interest. Not only the points of interest repetitive, there's very few types. One of the points of interest are anomalies. It's like a class of points of interest. And you walk up to an
Yeah.
anomaly, it's like a floating rock, and you hit scan.
Zeroing in on anything useful?
Bada bing, bada boom. I'll feel stupid walking around. I'm like, why am I doing this? So I don't have a great incentive to do it.
What you said to me on the phone that day that really made me understand your frustration for this game was when they were making Starfield and they were going to release it. They said it's what it's like a game that is 100 times bigger than Skyrim, 1,000 times larger than Skyrim. One of those numbers larger than Skyrim. Skyrim's a pretty large world. Like it's a pretty large world. And they're like, oh, it's so much bigger than Skyrim. And then I remember you saying to me, but it feels so much smaller. It feels so much smaller than Skyrim. And you were explaining why. And I was like, oh, I can see that. So what did you mean by that? How does it feel smaller, even though it's technically a bigger game map
Uh,
wise, pretty much?
s- so with the limited points of interest and the limited biomes and the incentive because that to fast travel everywhere,
Yes.
the world feels more cramped.
Yes.
It feels like you're in little fish jumping from fishbowl to fishbowl or nook to nook.
Hmm.
Or in Skyrim, you can walk for like what 2 hours across the landscape, finding all sorts of interesting locations and characters along the way.
Yeah. You feel free.
So Starfield, to explore, you kind of jump from point to point to point in your ship and even on land into like little pockets, and it doesn't feel connected. It feels disjointed, and therefore the
Yeah.
exploration seems it's thin.
Hey, I agree. I agree. I was looking forward to maybe being on a planet and I could like go out and explore. But then I think like it's not a lot of it for me is personal opinion and how I feel about video games and how I want to experience them and play them. So a lot of things that a lot of my complaints are probably just my personal opinion, but I was hoping for a little more of like a Skyrim slash Fallout type game, and I should have known that it was like to me, it's like a Mass Effect, Skyrim Fallout hybrid. Well, Fallout pretty much hybrid.
And one other thing is, I think an article came out. We'll put it on the screen that said something like Starfield player finds a river. Like this is a big deal that there's actually a river on a planet. So I've been looking for a river to make my outpost stat. See, that's how much I still like it. I'm like, I want to find a river and make little outposts and spend hours on it. One other point about exploration is not only is there limited exploration on planets, You can't fly from planet to planet other than fast travel. Yes, you can fly, put a piece of tape on your joystick and then go straight and make it to another planet, but there's like nothing in between. Like, I want to fly from planet to planet or have a large space that I could fly in where you see a black hole in the distance or something. There's strange comets with artifacts on them, rogue asteroids, strange giant jellyfish or space whales, weird rifts, dying stars, a pirate fleet. I'll get to gameplay, but you don't really encounter fleets. So space lacks exploration, which is the essence of space. And the terrain on planets lacks exploration. But anyway, those are my general points about exploration. I got to find that river. Starfreak is going to finally release their DLC, and it's going to be like, we have fishing at that one river if you can find it. And it's just going to be like normal fish, like no alien fish, it's like pickerel. It'll be called alien trout.
Mars sturgeon.
My second category is boring universe, which is related to exploration, but it's a bit broader. It's more about the lore. I'm not going to go over all the lore, and I'll try to be as accurate as possible. If I make a couple mistakes, my general point is sound. There will be spoilers, but Earth faced a cataclysm, and the cause is kind of interesting, actually. I thought Earth would have been destroyed by nuclear weapons, and so Fallout universe was directly tied to the Starfield universe. And I was hoping that when you go through two multiple universe in Starfield, one of them, just for like 30 seconds, would have been Tamriel.
Oh man, that made
And
me
then
want
what
to tear up.
you have the Bethesda universe. Everything's connected, and the immersion in that, because you play the Elder Scrolls 6, Starfield's out there. That Fallout has affected the Starfield universe. This is easy. They might do this, but this is a no-brainer. Like, it's obvious to do this. Like, how do you not think of that? Maybe it's there, maybe they're Easter eggs, but if they don't do that, it's just, where's your art? Where's your vision, Todd Howard? Have that vision. Could you imagine like going through like some sort of gravitational anomaly, this rift, and you step out into Skyrim and a dragon flies overhead? Or even, because they're re-releasing a remake of Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion. Could you imagine stepping into Oblivion, which would be great advertisement for Oblivion? Oh, dude.
What?
Oh God. I'm just so excited. So anyway, the lore and background is really weak. And there's a kind of American supremacy papered over by false diversity. The whole universe is divided in effect to two factions. You have the United Colonies and the Freestar Collective. The Freestar Collective is the South or Texas. The United Colonies is this weird militaristic North of America. It's so American centric, and they have some boring fights like over like a space station. It's ridiculous. And then they add a sort of gesture to alien. So there's these creatures called terramorphs that are kind of like from Alien, and they have a touch of psychological effect on you, which is this very weak nod to H.P. Lovecraft. But basically, the entire universe is America divided into a caricature of the South and like a militaristic go America Marines version of the North. In this great galaxy, you have like 4 cities that are boring and uninspired, and they're small. So that's the world. And the writer of Starfield, Emil Paglianulo, if you watch his lectures on writing and things like that, he's just an awful writer. He's terrible. No, this is important because there are fantastic writers out there that can't make money. And if you work at a giant company, you fail up and get these positions because of nepotism or what have you. And, good artists are unrecognized. And he's god awful, especially in Starfield. It's ridiculous. So the world's this boring division between two caricatures of America peppered with ridiculous sort of overtures to religion. One's this sort of like new age Unitarian, pseudo monotheistic, let's all hold hands, kumbaya. And then the other one's like this snake cult where they worship this snake. They're the most interesting people. And then a bunch of atheists. Who cares about them? And Emil's like, the words that we centered on when writing this was religion and theology. This is like a grade 9 take on religion. It's about God. And so there's no God in this story. Get out of my face. This is ridiculous. And that's the thing, too. There's a kind of self conscious, self indulgent philosophizing, which is utterly embarrassing. If you notice this stuff, it's ridiculous.
I just wanted to say that you're saying about Easter eggs and having the worlds all tied together, like Skyrim and Tamriel, not Skyrim, but Tamriel and Fallout worlds and everything. And you're saying Easter eggs, and they do have that Easter egg that if you take the adoring fan perk, and that character who is your adoring fan in that perk is your adoring fan in Oblivion. It's the same character.
I can't believe it's you standing here next to me. I can't believe I get to stand near you, breathing the same air. I've got to have every molecule.
So what you find out is that this adoring fan is actually this transcendental creature that
Okay.
hops through the universe and like is like God or something. That'd be so sweet. There's
Oh, I thought
little
you were actually telling me.
no. There's these little nuggets that he's like the watcher or something. And he'll break the fourth wall, he'll talk through the screen at you. So he's this multi-universal consciousness. Hire me. Amateurs.
I
All
should have
right.
known that you were making that up because they wouldn't have thought of something that
Maybe-
brilliant and clever.
Maybe it's there. All right, my third topic is probably one of the most important for normal people, which is gameplay and quality of life. The combat is like from 2005, and the special power mechanic that's included are basically shouts from Skyrim. The AI is not very great. There's a very limited set of weapons. Melee's garbage. Unarmed is a joke. You might as well use ballistic weapons because there's like a couple lasers, and then you have particle weapons, but whatever. So there's very little variety in the weapons and very little variety in enemy types. They're usually fighting humans, and they're kind of like all the same. And then you fight some alien creatures, which are like dogs with claws,
Okay.
and they're boring, which makes exploration bad because you're not finding interesting creatures. So as a whole, the enemy portfolio and weapon portfolio is just lacking, which it affects gameplay because you want really cool weapons to open up really cool mechanics. The skill system, I think, is an improvement over Skyrim, but a lot of the skills thus far seem not very useful. That's my experience. Like maybe they're way more useful than I think. Space travel, like I said, like space combat to me is basically a mini game. You just fly in circles and shoot a couple of ships, and you don't have great space battles. There are no massive capital ships. The space stations look like garbage and they're not interesting. The space combat, let's be honest, people, it feels like a mini game. There's nothing much to it. And one of the mechanics they have is you can switch the energy between, shields, grab drive, your
Yes.
different weapons and engines.
Yeah.
You know who did that first?
Who?
X-Wing. X-Wing was more complicated because you can move your shields to front or back or double them or make them single.
Okay.
But there's no depth to space. It doesn't feel like these three-dimensional objects all around you with very distances. It's very flat and claustrophobic. It's a pretty claustrophobic game.
Yes, I found the exact same thing. You feel very confined and you feel very like I can't breathe because it doesn't have that free open world feeling at all.
Well, there's no oxygen in space. I think the stamina system, the oxygen, it's just annoying sometimes. I don't know if you need it. It seems like an old mechanic from like the 90s. The inventory quality of life aspect, the inventory system's just cumbersome. Too many menus. There are mods that have come out
Yes.
which reduce the menu time. And I get it. It doesn't bother me too much, but it's still, there's lag, and this lag takes up too much time. You should be able to turn it off. I'll be honest, like the menus aren't that complicated to navigate, and given how much you could look at, I think they did a pretty good job for a controller.
The menus are not difficult, but it's tedious. It's kind of a waste of time. It takes too much time.
It just takes a lot of time. Those quality of life features are really annoying combined with the overall gameplay and combat. It's mediocre at best.
Well, it just sounds like Fallout, where it's like you can have a gun, or you can have a laser gun, or you can have a plasma gun. It's like it just sounds like the same thing. Or like the oxygen is just stamina with a new skin on it. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's just the same thing. It just
Yeah, and
looks a
it
little different.
with shouts and a jetpack.
Okay, this is just me. I get overwhelmed very easily all the time. But in video games, I just want to like kind of play, have this little second life. I want it to be kind of chill, a little bit stressful at times, maybe if I'm fighting somebody, whatever. But I get pretty overwhelmed if there's like too much going on. I have to learn too much too quickly. I'm just like, no, I have to learn this now. And okay, I gotta go to my ship, and then I gotta change these things, and I go, and then there's people gonna fight in space. Then I gotta go here, and then I gotta land, and I go here. Oh, now I gotta quick travel to this place. I gotta go to my ship, and I gotta take anyway. I just get a point in this game where I'm like, oh, I don't want to go through all this again. But also, what I don't like about this game, and it reminds me of Mass Effect a lot. There's certain aspects of this game that remind me of Mass Effect, but it's like almost like they really wanted to combine them, but I don't like it when you're just walking by a character and they're talking to somebody else and then you get that quest. I'm like, "No, I didn't interact with those people.
Mm,
If I want to pick up that quest, I can tell I know what's going on. I'm not stupid. I can tell if there's if there's characters talking loudly by me about something that sounds important, I know there's a quest there. You don't have to just give it to me, and then I have my menu all filled with all these quests, and then to me, I'm like, okay, where do I freaking start? Like, which one should I do first? Like, I want to initiate quests on my own terms. I don't want to just have quests thrown at me by random people like walking around and talking. You know what I mean?
yeah, well, it's like eavesdrop quests.
Yeah, I know. Like, I want to engage with the characters and then be like, oh, what's this person talking about? I'm gonna go talk to them and see what's going on. Like, I want to help these people, not like this person's talking about some dying tree, and I'm like, I guess I'll go talk to this guy. It's on my list now. I want it to be cleared off my list, so I better go talk to him. And I'm not interested in this right now.
I kind of feel the same way, and this relates to my other category, my fourth
Mhm.
category, which is questing. A lot of the quests seem fetchy without support from good writing. So the questing can be really annoying, like go here, go here, go here, go here, talk to this guy, he's next door. Oh, he's just across the street. Or go here and jump several star systems to tell this person someone, and then jump several star systems back and tell them. Why don't you send a message? Maybe a phone would help. Oh, you can't send long distant messages because of the speed of light and grav drives. Shut up. Just do it. You don't have long range communications because you want to force the player to go, which
No,
then
exactly.
to go abroad, which artificially inflates the feeling of the universe. It's a ruse. There are some faction quest lines that are pretty good, but overall, I mean, they're not that memorable. I think the characters could have been written better. Sarah Morgan's kind of annoying. Andresia's the cooler, one of the cooler characters. I feel like Constellation doesn't gel, and they're trying to be original and falling flat. I just don't really like them that much. Part of the questing is that you don't really get many decisive choices. There's an illusion of freedom, but again, the role playing is kind of claustrophobic or constraining. It doesn't feel like your freedom matters. You know, there'll be emotional moments, and then one of the NPCs that makes some stupid Joss Whedon joke, or some flippant comment which destroys the mood. In the dialogue choices, you get to pick the snarky option, but the snarky option sounds like a 30-year-old edgy, nostalgic English student who is titillated by their own wisdom. Oh, this character is made, the elevator works now. And your response is like, I'm going to stay here and be king of the elevator. Look, the person, the writing, or maybe it's a meal, maybe someone else, like, oh God, is that good? Like, just this, you get this sense of like this snarky high school edge lord self-indulgence, and they think they're, oh, this is so witty, this is so good. It's ridiculous, it's insulting. And you can say I don't care, that's fine. You can say that. You can say that you enjoy eating crap sandwiches just like you enjoy writing. But if you want to do a snarky character or a dark character, just do it better. It doesn't have edge to it, and the whole universe doesn't have an edge to it. It's
No.
an immature snark to it with a navel gazing, pseudo philosophizing all mixed together. It really does come across like it's written like 13-year-olds, which is how
Mhm.
millennials, 30 to 35-year-olds write, who have no confidence in their writing abilities, so they have to compensate. So Marie, those are my categories.
Mhm.
What categories would you like to add?
I have heard complaints about the graphics, especially on what the people look like. Now, I want to say like the environmental graphics are pretty nice. I don't mind them. I think they're pretty. I've said, "Oh, that's so pretty" a few times. And in the beginning, I was like, "Oh, the face looks good. The faces look all right." But they look kind of Bethesda-ish. Like Bethesda, I think like people have mocked like their facial mechanics for their characters and the facial features and what they look like and how a lot of people look the same and they don't show emotion all that well. I was like, "Well, that's just Bethesda." I'm gonna put a picture in here of these NPCs that I just saw sitting around in the town because I think some of the graphics for the NPCs and some of the characters and their faces and their facial expressions is pretty inexcusable at this age because they looked like a Fallout character from not even Fallout 4. I'm talking like before. I want to say Fallout New Vegas 'cause I've been playing that over again for like the sixth time, but that's Obsidian, not Bethesda. But still, it's on par with that game that was made maybe like 15, 20 years ago. Some of the graphics and the facial expressions. Like I can say like, "Oh, that's Bethesda," but then kind of got to get with the times a little bit.
People, I think, should put things in perspective. You have a giant, experienced, billion-dollar company that takes forever to produce games. And, oh, the mods will fix it. The mods will fix it. Well, you know what kind of sucks about that?
Mm.
Those mods are doing it for free. Those mods are fans. And I'm sure some of them would like jobs.
Mhm.
And you don't have a sketch on a canvas and let people fill it in with paint for free.
Mhm. Mm. Ooh.
That incentivizes a company to not work on something well and polish it and fill it with
Mhm.
content when they know people will do it for free and probably better.
Yeah.
So I think many of these issues will be solved with mods, but there's an ethical problem there, I think.
I'm gonna tell you so far what my general feeling is on the game, and then I want to hear yours. Again, mine doesn't matter as much as of yet because I'm not very deep in this game at all. Okay, I think there's a reason why I'm not very deep into this game, and it's because I don't feel the urgency to play it. And when I do play it, I don't feel the desire to keep going for hours and hours, hours and hours. Like some games, I've like I say, I've played some of the Fallout games like 5, 6 times over, Skyrim like 4 times over, and I can't get enough. I think about it, I dream about it, I hear the music, I get the tingles, and I just like I they're part of me. I love those worlds. And those games had me hooked like right away. There's nothing about this game yet that has really made me feel cozy, comfortable. I find it a little too cold and sterile. Again, that could be personal opinion. I find some of it super tedious. It just doesn't have that comfortable Bethesda feel that I was hoping for. And like also the freedom, I don't feel accepted in this world. I don't really feel part of the world, not yet at least. I don't feel like I'm part of it. I'm just some chick who showed up and all of a sudden they're like, "Hey, new girl, come do this." But I don't feel like I'm part of anything yet. I just feel like I'm just there being an errand girl, you know what I mean?
What do you like about it?
The lock picking. I love the lock picking aspect. It's like a puzzle.
The lock picking is good. The
Yeah.
music is good. I really enjoy the music. Outpost building is really interesting. The ship building is really cool. Some people find it clunky, but you're on an Xbox with a controller, but the ship building's pretty sweet. You can't
Okay.
design the interior of ships, but I mean, it feels like an unfinished game.
Oh, okay. So all this smack talk you've been talking, all this everything you've been saying, but then you kind of have like a place for it in your heart.
Yeah, I do. I like playing. I want to play it. I get home
Okay.
from work and I want to play a little bit of Starfield. Like I said, the Star Fools out there can like the game, but they seem sensitive when you criticize it. I'm thinking people online, you find in the gamer community, people want to like the game that people like so they know they made the right choice and that their time investment isn't a waste. Kind
Yeah.
of see that psychology of a gamer, like, is it good, guys? Okay, it's good. Oh, you don't think it's good? Well, we think it's good and you're an idiot. Her.
Well, also because people were so excited about it for so long and so pumped and they really
It's
hype
got to be
people up
good.
for it. So I know, but then this thing, like if it's not good, you feel cheated and you feel like, oh, let down. You feel silly for liking it and like wanting it so badly.
Yeah.
But sometimes games are kind of shitty and not great, but you still have fun and enjoy yourself a little bit. And that's okay too. That's okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. Just Star freaks out there get so so touchy about it. Like,
Right.
look, I'm affirming you. I'm saying you can do what you love, and I do enjoy the game. I think it's fun. I don't think it will have longevity for most people
Okay.
for all the reasons I specified above. The end game loop was designed to make the game have a long life, but I just can't see it unless they have some major updates.
Of course, we'll have DLC.
I just don't know if they're going to put the effort into it like the developers put the effort into resurrecting Cyberpunk, which is all the rage right now. But no, Starfield has a huge player base. It's not Starfield, it's successful. So yeah, but I like the music. I think the outpost building is cool. Shipbuilding is cool. I still do feel the Bethesda charm, but
A little bit.
all a little bit, all those issues though are grating and I can feel them in the back of my mind. And they're constant. It's like this again, this again, this again. It's a mediocre game. It's like a 6.
I'm hoping that I get a little more attached to it and I get a little more involved and I feel like, okay, I'll cozy in it and I want to think about it. Like I want to think about it. I want to wake up in the morning and be like, damn, I want to play Starfield. I want to like be doing something else somewhere else and be like, oh, I want to get home and play Starfield. I want that feeling. I hope it grows a little bit because right now, sometimes when I play, I'll be like seriously, like I want to go to sleep. I don't know if it's just the aesthetic or whatever. I'm just like, I want to go to sleep right now. I'm tired.
Well, yeah, the first 10 hours I thought were pretty awful. After that hump, I was really into it. I felt the Bethesda charm. I was like
Mm,
super into it. And then that dropped off quite quickly.
the
It
honeymoon
was like
phase.
it was like a parabola and the charm dissipated to like low key frustrated charm.
Thank you for watching this episode of Marie Plays It All, Relatively Geeking with my brother Rob. Were we geeked out? Well, I mean, I thought it was going to be a little more ragey than that. I'm glad that you came. I don't know. I think I'm glad that you liked it a little bit just for your sake.
Yeah, I didn't go off. It was a more of a cerebral critique.
I liked it. You can find more of our content on our YouTube channel, Not a Strong Start. You can follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Not a Strong Start. You can listen to us anywhere you listen to your podcast. You can like and subscribe and comment and share. And you can follow me on Instagram at Marie Plays It All. And never stop playing and never stop just speaking your mind about video games and who cares. And all things. You know what? If you have a different opinion than somebody, just speak it. I mean, people shouldn't get so uptight and their panties in a bunch. Like just whatever. Everyone has different opinion, and doesn't mean
Redditors will
that.
go after you.
Well, maybe off Reddit.
I'm gonna go play Starfield.